Let's just take a closer look at what exactly MPs can expect now. Let's take a look at the basic salary first. It's 16,000 rupees a month right now. That goes up to 50,000 rupees a month. Then there are office expenses that have been doubled from 20 to 40,000 rupees. Constituency expenses also doubled, 20 to 40,000. The pension has been significantly increased, and the daily allowance also goes up from 1 to 2,000 rupees. But our question tonight is whether a pay hike should be linked to the performance of MPs. Let me ask Manish Tiwari first. Obviously, once Sonia Gandhi indicated that she was in favor of a hike, all the differences within the cabinet seem to have been papered over. There wasn't even a discussion, we understand, in the cabinet today. There was a clear go-ahead. Let's do it.
Well, I am not privy to what goes on in the cabinet. And allow me to put it on record that it is not the Congress president who took a call insofar as the pay hike is concerned. There is a process, and the process is that there is a joint parliamentary committee which consists of members from all shades of the political spectrum. They meet, they deliberate, they invite evidence, which was in, if you look at the report which was taken in this instance, and after that they make recommendations. And then it is for the government to either accept those recommendations in totality or partially, or reject those recommendations. So therefore, that is the process which is followed and which has been followed since 1954.
But what about the reservations that some ministers had, and we know this, on the fact that the timing is a bit inappropriate? You have the country reeling under inflation. You have these, allegations every day of corruption in the Commonwealth Games. It doesn't look nice for MPs to be asking for such a fat raise right now. Maybe you could have waited?
Well, essentially, on the timing issue, I do agree that there is a divergence of perception. And possibly if there are differences or there were differences in the cabinet, I would lean with those differences, because as elected representatives, you need to be sensitive to the concerns of the constituents that you represent. And on an average, a member of parliament represents a constituency between 1 million to 1.5 million people. And I tend to quite agree that there was, or there is possibly a need to finesse it and to do it with a certain amount of sensitivity. All
right, so that's an interesting admission. You feel that maybe you could have waited?
Well, essentially, my own view is that there are two sides of the argument. There is an argument that MPs need to be possibly reimbursed better so that they can service their constituents better. There is also a view with regard to the fact that no, this is an honorary service. You actually step up to serve, so therefore you can make do with the emoluments that you get. And then, of course, there is a third view with regard to the timing of it. So I guess there are various shades of opinion on this issue. But as I earlier said, there is a process which has been in place. It's a time-tested process, and that's the way it is being done. And, to a question that you were raising earlier, that possibly whether it should be done by a process which does not consist of members of parliament, some kind of an independent tribunal.
We'll come to that. I want to get into detail about that. We'll come to that. Let me just get first views from the BJP, because it was interesting today it was interesting actually earlier that Mr. Advani felt that it was inappropriate for MPs to be publicly, making a demand for a raise. He apparently told BJP MPs that. Can I ask you whether you feel that, yes, any hike should be linked to the performance of MPs? And how can you do that?
The party definitely did participate in the JPC and took a call on it. And whilst we see that the party's MPs are not going to have to behave like a trade union asking for an increase, increases are legitimate. But as Advani ji had spoken about it, we have to look at it in a far more objective kind of a way. Now, yes, sensitivity about timing at a time when the country is reeling under price rise and a whole lot of other things, it might be sounding inappropriate. But we really can't take a cynical view of the whole thing saying, why should the MPs at all have an increase? No, if they deserve an increase, they should be given.